Ahoy folks, Craigo here for Pure Xbox. In this video, we'll be sharing our review for the visually spectacular Senua Saga Hellblade II. But before we get going, this review was written by PJ O'Reilly for PureXbox.com and turned into a video by me. If we cast our minds all the way back to 2019's The Game Awards, all the way back to the very first reveal for Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, it's a strange thing that, amidst all the next-gen hype and excitement of that specific time, we still clearly remember considering a sequel to Ninja Theory's 2017 Tour de Force a weird, and maybe even quite bad idea. Well, that and Jeff Keighley's jacket, but mostly the bad idea thing.
You can't sense the evil here.
It was an obvious choice to make, of course. Senua's sacrifice is quite rightly beloved by gamers and critics the world over. It was a big fat mega hit, baby. It's also a singularly raw, personal, and very angry blast of a game that throttles you with something approximating the ins and outs of dealing with mental health issues on the daily. It's dangerous, intoxicating, otherworldly, and unique, whilst also getting proper real about mind stuff. There have been countless articles and discussions. We all have our own reasons to speak on why we connected so deeply with this character the first time around. But why revisit? Why go again when it seemed as though everything of import had already been said for Senua?
Senua, no. We know what to do. We are protecting you.
Playing Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 after all this time, after 5 long years of waiting and wondering on how they would wring more of the same level of emotion and connection from a continued Saga approach, it's very hard not to be disappointed. Disappointed because it really had to be good for Xbox, just purely in terms of business, that's for sure. Disappointed because this sequel feels exactly how we reckoned a sequel might do, and disappointed that so much time, effort, and very obvious skill has gone into something that just does not, in any way whatsoever, feel vital or necessary. Oh dear, that sounds very bad. But it isn't very bad. Actually, it's quite good. It's a quite good video game. A solid 8-hour adventure that still brings a level of artistry, of graphical fidelity and audio work, the soundtrack is incredible, that is leagues above anything else we've seen this generation. In this way, it does fully deliver. It looks like a very moody and important movie. One of those subtitled arty ones that you put on whenever you have friends over for a movie night and fancy showing off your impeccable taste in film. We get it, mate, we do. We don't want to ruin the story, because, by God, it's slight. But this time, Senua has grown into her role. She's shifting her focus to how she can take her pain and inner turmoil and use it in a constructive manner. What is its meaning? What is this power that she holds, and how can she use it for good, and all of that jazz? Honestly, that's possibly even too much information, but essentially you've got a hero arc now of sorts. And that's just not as interesting or as personal as the depths of despair she was in first time out. Sorry, we don't make the rules, but everyone is in despair now, so Senua can either be more in despair, or she could just get lost. We're joking, obviously, but there is a nugget of truth in that sentiment, and it's why we can't connect in the same way this time around, no matter how we try. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is at its best when it shows us a hero doubting themselves. It reframes some gaming tropes in clever ways and raises a smile as it does so. Are these chattering voices, these constant nagging doubts, self-hatred and so on, is this how Link feels when he's asked to go over there and beat those monsters? Oh god, it does make you think. These are the places that we found most enjoyable this time around, when all the noise and darkness makes way for these moments where Senua's plight still resonates. Not in the same way, it's lost a lot of deep personal emotion and impact this time out, but there are flashes and they keep you going.
Why have we come here? Stupid! Come on, climb!
Had these flashes of reframing the hero's plight in this way been more consistent, and then paired with gaming mechanics that did the whole thing justice, that matched the often eye-popping spectacle, well, now that would have been a whole other thing. However, the fighting here is a drag, unfortunately. A real drag. It's clunky, it's repetitive, it wrestles control away when it fancies it, and it lacks all of the character of the amazing boss confrontations from the first game. All of those things are gone in favor of nameless, faceless monsters for the most part. It feels like the grandeur and pomposity of the speeches have been pared back too. The narration is more sparing, even though that was one of the best parts of the original. And seeking out additional info via hidden runes becomes vital because there's so little to engage up front and center.
The Skald's verse tells how Grettir made many enemies with his proud and overbearing nature.
The puzzles, using Senua's focus skill to warp your surroundings in exceedingly obvious ways, and then standing in exact places to trigger a solution, are also as bad as this sentence has just made them sound. They are so basic. Why? Why are they so basic and repetitive? Much like the combat, it does feel as though all of the gameplay aspects have really been dropped off in favor of the narrative for part 2. Some will say the fighting feels perfectly matched to her mindset, but that doesn't wash this time, at least not for PJ. It feels bad. It isn't satisfying to play in combat or in puzzles, and so we have a gorgeous walking simulator with incredible acting. Melina Juergens is spectacular in every scene. She's never less than fully absorbing. It's just a shame that Senua's journey this time feels so much less immediate.
How does it feel to be the one bound and helpless, waiting to die?
There have been plenty of vital games about mental health, our inner demons, dealing with depression and self-doubt since Senua first arrived on the scene in 2017. Returning to her continued play in an attempt to strike gold twice was always going to be a risk. And as much as this game is spectacular at times, as much as the first hour is riveting to behold and certain scenes do match the power of the first game, it's diminishing returns and a game that feels like a nice trip to take if you've got the time, but nothing that we describe as essential or must play. Which, considering the first game, well, it is what it is.
Everything I've seen, everything I've done, has led me to this place.
We've come so far.
Not far enough.
There's a very positive message to be taken from this game, we should note. One that is as prescient now as it could ever be, considering how absolutely dark as night the real world has become. Something so on the money in its timing should be capable of devastating us emotionally. The fact that it doesn't is, we think, all you really need to know.
You did it, Senua. Now people will be free again. You brought hope. Yes.
Senua's Saga Hellblade II is the best looking video game we've ever played. It sounds incredible. Melina Juergens acts herself inside out, and on a purely technical level, this is just next level stuff all round. However, we still don't feel as though extending Senua's plight into a saga is a good idea. We remain unconvinced, and it's because this sequel feels like diminishing returns as we had worried it might. It's not as vital or as unique in 2024, and it goes for bombast as a means of smoothing things over, resulting in a good game, an interesting 8-hour romp, but nothing that screams must play. Weak combat and dull puzzles are just more salt in these wounds, unfortunately. Well then, we're keen to hear your thoughts on Hellblade 2 since it's available now to play on Xbox Game Pass. Make sure to leave your comment below. And all that's left to say is bless for now. Cheerio!